Thanks, Mark. That was awesome. What we're going to do now is we're going to have 10 to 15 minute little interactive panel discussion, and we'll have you guys do a little quiz. So just cue this up. And maybe Mark, if you could stay on, and Colin, if you could unmute yourself, and Jeremy, if you feel so inclined, you can pop in here. But what we're going to do is, so this is who we've heard from. We've got a little background stage setting, shared vision of resilience, a lot of messed up streams, a missing reference condition, and reimagining what could take place in those. So just sort of easing into this. And so right now, what we want to do is we want to try and apply the either the stream evolution or the Riverscape evolution models that Colin and Mark were talking to us about. Colin, anything to say here?
Well, looking at this Riverscape, I would say this isn't in the good category there. It's down in the bad sector of the SEM, or towards the bottom of the REM. There isn't a green emerald here. There's just a green string along that current channel, which to me looks pretty disconnected from the valley floor.
Yep, quite right. And so you're talking in that one about a stream that's somewhere down here in 3S.
May well be. The banks were very steep, but they also look pretty strong, at least in their dry condition, their drained condition. So it may take a big flood to wet them up and get them to slough and get any kind of widening process going. I'd say that's pretty locked in. And
you know, we could look at some pictures like this, and this is what we're going to make you guys do as the audience, and we could apply either, you know, the dumbed down version or the more elaborate version. I think what we'll do is actually stick with the more elaborate version. Just don't be so focused on memorization of the individual numbers and the stages. Think about the descriptions here. And it's no big deal if you don't get this right, but there's a quiz right here, and what we'd like you to do is take 3 or 4 minutes. There's 6 questions in there, and try and answer it. And Colin and Mark, maybe you guys could play too. See if you get your own questions right.
And the link to the quiz is in the chat box.
Thanks, Brenda. Gosh, we're going to have to learn how to turn on some elevator music during these exciting interludes.
You could just have a soundtrack of beaver munching.
Very good. Starting to see some responses spilling in. don't think that's accurate. There we go. So we got 301 submitted. So we'll give you guys another minute here. Then we'll go through. And what we'll do is we'll swap back and forth, and we'll have Mark and Colin explain some of these that you've just looked at, and then we'll see what the collective wisdom of this audience is. Mark and Colin, did you think you passed, or a little worried about your performance?
I'm nervous. I don't think I aced it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Tests are stressful.
This is anonymous,
Yeah.
right?
Jeremy, I can see your answers, and they're definitely wrong.
Oh, geez. Wow. What do you expect from a biologist?
Yeah, we got to keep you guys out.
Hey, biology rules. That's the
I
message.
know.
I've
All
wasted
right.
the first half of my career thinking physics was it's not.
Indeed. Let's see. So it looks like we've got on the first one 346 people, 383 on the second, 361, 342, 321. Yeah, so we're getting there. A few of you are still getting to the end. But while you're still playing, Colin, this has to be one of yours, right?
It is.
So,
Well, have I to say what I think it is?
yeah.
Or have I to describe what I think I'm seeing?
Whatever. Either way. I mean, so in the first 4 slides we've got here are from the first question, right? And so there were 4 choices for them. So what did you call this one?
I think it's a stage 1.
So not an anastomose.
No, because you got paleo channels all over the place. But I mean, that's close to backfill discharge, and it's not really engaging those side channels anymore. So it's not massively in size, but it is disconnected at the 2-year flow.
Cool. I think this is another one of yours. I'm hoping you didn't check this one off as anastomosing. We did get, looks like if this is live, there are 7 of you that maybe were just getting warmed up and called this one anastomosing. But Colin, what do you call this?
Well, I guess it could be anastomosing if this is one of multiple channels, but it's not. This is the creek that is the Andrew Simon, who is outstanding in creeks, and there he is outstanding in a creek. And what we see is he's standing on a head cut. We see the leaning tree just downstream and adjacent to the head cut. So that bank is on the cusp of becoming unstable geologically. So this is a stage 2 possibly if it's been channelized, or if not, a stage 3.
Cool. Mark, I think this is one of yours.
Yeah, that's the river by my house, and it's geologically constrained, a pretty solid 3S, I think.
So maybe a good place to go play in a kayak, but not one of our anastomosing. And then this one's also from you, Mark, and you'll be pleased that 91% of folks, if I bring this over, chose that as the anastomosing. So I guess they got your soup bit. Anything to say about this one, Mark?
One comment is that there is development in this valley, and it's on the edges, and there's plenty of room. I think a lot of the time we're trying to decide whether we can restore stage 0 or stage 8 systems in the face of development, and it really depends on how that valley was developed.
Yeah, it's great. So we could put Jeremy on the spot here, see how he performs. I know this one's one of Mark's, but basically, Jeremy, what'd you choose here for what stage this is?
Well, I'm sure I'm going to fail, but I put this one on the widening side of the diagram. I like the simpler concepts here, and it does look like it's cut down, but it has moved laterally over time and established this new kind of inset floodplain. I won't dare guess which specific number, but that'd be my educated guess.
Yeah, well, and just you're in good company in terms of the even distribution on that side of it where people fell. Mark, could you enlighten us?
I can try, but I also don't know exactly what stage to call this. This is it's a place called Badger Creek, and it did incise, a couple hundred years ago. So it went through most of the cycle, I think. I call it stage 6 or maybe going towards 7 now. It's a very flashy system, so it normally runs like 1 CFS or something for most of the year, but giant flash floods come through here, and most of the erosion happens during those. So I do think it's still laterally active.
Eating away at some of these terrace deposits here on the edges.
Precisely. And I'd like to see maybe what Colin would say.
Yeah, I'd say maybe nibbling rather than eating, because in their drained, sun-baked state, it's tough to get those banks to retreat, those terrace edges to retreat much. So this is where the timescale comes in, and it's going to take a long time to push the shoulders out here and get a fully anastomosed wetland complex in the bottom. And that's why we see this sort of raggedy meandering stream instead. So it's somewhere, maybe it's a stage 7S, sort of late stage, but pretty stuck.
Got to get the Crayolas out and modify the model here, huh? Very good. So this is an interesting one. So in terms of what people answered, just switch this. Maybe it's a little easier to see it like this. So most 33%, about a third of you are calling this stage 8 anastomosing. And remember, Colin, you talked about the difference between stage 8 and 0 being really one of a degree. So yes, it's multi-threaded and splitting around, in this case, a mix of woody and grassed islands. But what would be the difference? Would you agree with what a bunch of those people called this stage 8? Or would you call this stage 0?
I'd call it stage 8 because I'm seeing areas of the valley floor there that are high and dry. And so it's not going toe wall to toe wall. So I think it's recovered. It's been incised. It's a lot closer to full recovery, much closer than that previous one, because you've got plenty of width now in there to get complexity into the planform. But it's not all the way back up to the historical valley floor. So I wouldn't say it's back to its pre-disturbance condition, and therefore it's an 8, not a 0.
Mark, you agree?
Yep, I agree.
Thanks for being easy. So Colin, this is, I think,
and well, yeah, just say well done, group, because that stage 8, most people got that, so that's encouraging.
Yeah. I could show you real quick what people came up with here. Looks like stage 5 as a potential standout here. So that would be aggradation and widening. What would you tell us, Colin?
Yep, I think I'd agree with that. It's a 5 getting towards a 6. This is back in North Mississippi, and we've got lots of bed sediments. The banks are stabilized, but largely due to being covered in kudzu, which is not a great reason for the bank to be stabilized. But that is the situation. We're getting, riparian species are doing their best to get going in the inside stream, and you can see the terrace surface over on the left there, in the form of a soybean field. So this one's nowhere near through the cycle, but it's on the right side. It's on the recovery pathway.
And I'm seeing in the chat window here a question from the Steve Bennett on the instruction team of what do you have to do to get disqualified from this quiz? Use a book. So no, that's just, you're just using references appropriately, I think there. Maybe what we'll do here is let Mark explain what he thinks is going on, and then we'll maybe queue up a question or two. If there are any, Brenda, you can start getting those ready for after Mark's explanation on this one.
We're ready.
Cool. This one's kind of threw in as a trick question a little bit. This was a BDA restoration project. It's one that was a severely incised small creek where the banks were laid back and a couple of little BDAs put in the bottom of the channel, which you can kind of see a little bit in there. The reason it's so confusing is that I would still call this a stage 5, and I think the next it's a little bit hidden from the work that's been done out there. And one of the reasons I put it in there is that, we like to think that BDAs can instantly reverse this incision problem. But once it gets, there you go. And once you get deeply incised, and you guys are going to talk a lot about this with Bridge Creek, you really have to go all the way around the cycle. You can't short circuit it with small beaver dams in a severely incised system, I think. So I just wanted to kind of put a tricky one out there.
So we're not blasphemously suggesting that I might need to erode banks, are you, Mark, to move along this this thing? I mean, bank erosion, surely we should be preventing.
Oh, I'm afraid to say it, but we must become one with erosion.
Okay.
If we're going to get some of these back.
Very, very good. So, Brenda, do you want to ask a question for the panel?
Yeah, well, we've got a bunch. So I'll do one for Jeremy here. How does the regrowth in many cases of willows and other tree form vegetation in riparian areas impact the value of those habitats for sage grouse?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that. What I'd encourage you to do when we're talking about this type of restoration is back up from the micro scale habitat that might be like, well, what specific plants are these critters eating, and what types of vegetation? That's how we often think about riparian areas, is what the exact composition of those areas is. What I'm talking about is the overall function and health and resilience of those systems. And so think about that not only at a larger scale, but also through time. So years where we have drought years in the West, those areas, the valley bottom sponge remains full, and so you have at least some green place for them to go. So grouse prefer those open areas. They don't like a lot of tall structures, so they're going to pick out the edges of these valley bottoms. But it's more about the resilience of that water source, keeping green groceries available in space and time so that they have options.
Great. I have one for Mark and one for Colin. Mark, if you have a stage 0 with development, could it degrade once again just because you've reached stage 0? Does that mean it will stay there?
Certainly it doesn't mean it'll stay there. Yeah, it needs to be managed appropriately. Yep, there's no guarantees. If you've got the same ecological impacts that caused it to degrade in the first place, simply putting it back without fixing those root causes doesn't guarantee it's going to stay there forever.
A question for Colin. With climate change in the West predicted to be less frequent but more intense storms, will the stages be less stable?
That's a really good question, and it really plays into the issue of resilience. And for a lot, I work a lot in hydro modification in urban streams where